Some of today's stories do cover some very disturbing topic matter, and viewer discretion is advised. And if you have a story you'd like to send my way, just go to astheravendreams.com and click the button to do so. And of course, thank you. So, you know how they always say to be careful who you talk to online? I always thought that was just one of those things you told kids to make sure they didn't go around saying, "Hi, I'm Jimmy. I live at 1234 Sesame Street in Orlando, Florida." You know, one of those scare tactics that parents use to keep their kids in line and safe. But let me tell you, I learned the hard way that that warning is for everyone, and everyone should take it to heart. This was a few years ago when I was big into online gaming. I had a regular crew that I would join for raids, and we were pretty unstoppable. But one night I logged in and everyone else was busy, so I ended up joining a random team. One of the members of this team was Henry. Or at least that's what he called himself. I honestly don't know if that was his actual name, but he referred to himself as King Henry the Great. He seemed pretty cool. The whole time we were playing, he would remain in character and say things like, "King Henry is in need of healing," when he was low on health. And he would use a regal-sounding voice. It was weird, but also kind of funny. We hit it off pretty well. He got me to roleplay a bit in my character, and he knew the game like the back of his hand, so my thoughts were about adding him to our group and maybe getting to know him better. Over the next couple of weeks, we actually became good online friends, if you will. We added each other on social media, talked about life. We even got on discussing comics and some of the, at the time, upcoming superhero movies that we were both looking forward to. Henry had this way about him that just drew you in. He was charismatic, funny, and super supportive. After we got to know each other more and more, it was finally discussed where we lived. I told him where I lived, just someplace in central Colorado, and to my surprise, he actually lived in the next town over, around 30-ish minutes of a drive. I want to mention here that I was a 20-year-old guy, and I am gay, and Henry was the type of guy that I was into. Nerdy, fun to talk to, enjoyed the same things that I did, but I wasn't sure if he was playing for the same team. We talked a bit more about ourselves, and I did mention my sexuality to him, and he signed off immediately after I told him. So, I figured that he was someone that had an issue with my lifestyle, and that's okay. If that was his opinion, he was entitled to it. I was upset, thinking I'd lost a friend over something so stupid, but I can't change who I am, and I wouldn't do so just to keep a friendship anyways. It was the next day that I got a message from him again, just saying, "Hey." It was a bit off for him, but I responded, saying hi. He then responded with this really long message about how he was sorry that he didn't reply to me yesterday, and how when he learned I was gay, he was a bit shocked. But the more that he thought about it, the more he started questioning himself, because the friendship that we'd had felt like more than that. He said that he felt a connection. I told him that I wasn't wanting anything more than a friendship if he wasn't into it, and that I would never pressure someone into something like that. But he immediately responded saying, "I think I'm bi, because I still like women, but I think I have feelings for you." We discussed things a bit more, and after talking about how he was feeling, he mentioned that he wanted to meet up to see if we had the same connection in person. I thought, why not? He was a decent guy. We'd been talking for a couple months at this point. What's the worst that could happen? Oh, how naive I was. We decided to meet up halfway at a decent little cafe, one that I was familiar with, and we set a date. I ended up getting there early, grabbed a coffee, and waited for Henry to show up. And waited. And then waited some more. Henry never showed. I was annoyed and a bit worried at this point. Maybe he'd had an accident or something happened, and he just forgot to message me. I sent him a message asking if he was okay. No response. A whole day went by and still nothing from him. 2 days, 3. I was hurt, thinking that he and I would actually get along pretty well, be it friends or more, but he'd ghosted me. I checked his social media to see if he'd posted or anything, but no, just complete radio silence. It was like he had just vanished off the face of the earth. But just when I thought the situation couldn't get any weirder, it did. After about a week of no contact, my phone buzzed with a message. It was from Henry. The message was a bit cryptic and unsettling. It read, "You looked so lonely at that cafe. It's like you were waiting for your Prince Charming, and he just never showed up." Complete with an attached picture of me staring at my phone, holding my cup of coffee in my hand. I froze. So Henry had showed up to the coffee shop, but then decided to just not come in and just watch me? Was this some kind of sick joke or something? I immediately messaged back asking for an explanation, but again, silence. I kind of felt a bit paranoid after this. Part of me wondered if Henry was still following me, if he was driving any of the cars that I passed, or waiting at any shop that I'd entered. All he had done was sent me a creepy photo of myself while I was waiting for him, but it was enough to genuinely creep me out. This went on for another week, me feeling like he was going to send me another message with another photo of myself. I felt like I was being stalked, even though I don't think I was. I was just feeling like I was. And then, what I guess one could call the finale of his creepy game. 2 weeks after he sent that picture, I got an email. But it wasn't from Henry's account. It was from an email that was literally just a bunch of random numbers and letters. Like the ones that send you a bunch of scam messages. The email didn't have any text, and I almost deleted it thinking it was a scam, but when I opened it, I saw a photograph, and then multiple photographs. The first one was a screenshot of Google Maps with a pin over where I lived. The second one was a screenshot of the same map, but zoomed in with the street view, so that you could actually see my window. Then, the last item in the email was a video that I was hesitant to open. I figured it was going to be a virus or something, but with the other items attached, and the thumbnail of the video that I saw, I knew that I had to see it. I clicked it, and I was horrified. It was a video taken of my home from outside and across the street. It was pretty dark, but my front light was on, and I could see myself through the window. I'm standing in the living room looking through my phone. There was no timestamp, so I don't know when it was taken, but it had to be recent based on my haircut. After a few seconds of this person recording me and giggling, they panned down to the ground, and lying there in the brush where they were hiding was a handgun. I watched as this man put his hand on the gun that was lying there, and he acted like he was petting it. Like it was a kitten, and he was trying to show it affection. My heart was racing. My palms were clammy and sweaty, and in that moment, I realized just how deep I was into something that I never signed up for. I called the police and explained to the officer when he got there the whole situation. I showed them the email and the video, and I told them that I was pretty sure that this was a guy that I met online. They did take it seriously, thankfully, and they upped the patrols in my neighborhood for a good long while, trying to see if this person ever came back. They never found anyone, or any information based on the email, and the info that I had given them. Oh, and as for Henry, his social media accounts disappeared. His number was disconnected, and I never received any sort of message from him after this. I moved out of that place pretty quick, having to break my lease and move back in with my parents for a while. I got a new number, and I scrubbed my online presence as best as I could. Even now, years later, I still cannot shake that feeling like I'm being watched, stalked, followed by this crazed man. It's a lesson that I learned the hard way. Just because someone seems to be friendly online, just because you think that this person you are talking to is a normal, level-headed individual, absolutely does not mean that they have good intentions. I've always been a bit of a night owl, the kind of person that stays up all night, much to my own detriment. I've also been the overly trusting type, and I love to talk to new people, so I'm also a pretty avid user of various social media apps. There was one that I used that isn't around anymore. I think it was called something like Nocturne or Nocturnal. I don't remember the specifics, and this was way back in the beginning of smartphone apps, so my apologies. It was a bit of a unique type of social media app. It was designed for people that were up late to talk to each other anonymously. It was kind of neat. You couldn't even log in unless the time on your device was between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. So, basically, you could talk to people in 7 different time zones. A good distance. And you could add interests like movies, music, books, just random things that you liked. It was a pretty neat way to chat with people and pass the time. I chatted with a lot of people over the few weeks that I used this app, but eventually I ended up finding one person that I really liked chatting with, a user named Bird's Eye View, though I just called him Bird. We had a lot in common. We both loved the same obscure indie bands, were into true crime stuff, and even shared a few favorite books. Our chats were pretty silly and lighthearted, but some of them did shift to deep and philosophical. Now, I will say that one of the things that Bird was really philosophical about was death. He wasn't obsessed with death or really anything creepy, but he would oftentimes say that he was depressed, and that he was just stuck thinking about his own death. He would ask me what I thought happened after we died, if I thought dying hurt, or if it really just felt like you were really tired and went to sleep. It was a bit darker, but it was never something for alarm. He just seemed to have a lot to say about things. Then, one day Bird asked me if I wanted to try a new feature in the app called Visions. It was kind of cool. It was a lot like Snapchat. You could send a picture and it would be deleted a few hours later. It wasn't immediate, but it was within the day. I think it was 12 or 24 hours. These visions were also stripped of all personal information when viewed, so that you couldn't screenshot it and attribute it to anyone else. Like, you could see who it was from on the list, but when you clicked on it, that info was not visible. The first few visions were innocent enough. Memes, pictures of nature, random things that just looked neat that we wanted to share. But then, Bird sent me a vision that actually bothered me. It was a picture of a hand, and the hand was covered in what looked like blood, and with it was the text, "I know what death feels like now." I took the conversation out of the visions and sent him a direct message saying, "Yo, Bird, What the hell is that about? He didn't reply with a DM, but instead sent me another vision. This time it was a picture of his face, but he was wearing a ski mask. The message attached to it said, "I may have done something bad." I just stared at this picture, thinking about that one and the last one, and trying to piece together if this was some kind of prank. I chuckled nervously, but responded saying, "Bird, that's not funny, dude. Don't joke about things like that." This time he did respond in a message. It said, "It's not a joke, and I'll prove it to you." I won't describe the visions that he sent after this in detail, but I will say that they painted a really disgusting crime scene. It started with an image of broken glass on a back door, an image of a random kitchen, and then pictures of a living room with a person lying on the floor. He sent photos of a large knife covered in red, the red-stained carpet, and then a photo of a woman's lifeless face. He then sent a message saying, "She fought me for a bit, but I was too strong for her. Death is painful, by the way. I asked her before she died how she felt, and she just looked at me with wide eyes. I asked her if it hurt, and she told me that it did. So, yes, death is painful." So, immediately after this, I called the police. I was able to explain pretty well all the information about what he had sent me, and I had to explain to the officer that arrived that I didn't know this man, that I didn't know where he lived, his name, his current location. All I could show them was the images he was sending me and tell them what I did know about him, which was next to nothing. I'm guessing they probably had to get information on him from the app developer, but I wasn't able to help much. I ended up deactivating my account after that, and deleting the app entirely. Like I mentioned before, the app ended up going offline not too long after all this went down. I would guess that they weren't capable of handling the anonymous image sending system like they thought, and people were probably sending illegal content. Obviously, I never heard from Bird again, and I have no idea if they caught this guy or found out anything about him, but I hope that they did. Now, I only have a Facebook account that is locked down, and I only add people that I know personally. I know that my experience is one that isn't common or really even likely to ever happen again, and it's been years since this happened, but I think I was mentally traumatized that this guy that I thought was pretty cool ended up being some kind of psychopathic murderer. I have an incredibly unsettling and disturbing story that happened around 10 years ago. When I got married, I quickly realized that I was navigating this new chapter of my life, and I needed some guidance. I know that sounds weird, and for a lot of people, marriage is just a word, but I was anxious, and I didn't know if I was doing what was right for my new life partner. I found a social media group called New Wives United, which was dedicated to women like myself, those that had no idea how to navigate this huge change, those in fresh marriages trying to figure out this whole forever thing. It was generally light stuff. Recipes, how to deal with in-laws, balancing work and marriage, getting to know your partner's friends and not make them think you're ripping them away. You know, the basics. But one user, let's just call her Emily, started posting about an issue she was having with her husband. It all started innocently enough. She posted that she noticed that he seemed a bit distant with her. They'd been married for a year at this point, and that first year seemed perfect. He'd kept the romance, he'd been caring and helpful, but This last month, he'd started going out with the guys, and it was becoming somewhat frequent that he wouldn't be coming home until the wee hours of the morning. The speculation in the group was, of course, rampant. The consensus was that he was probably having an affair. Some were saying that he may have a gambling addiction. Others were just saying that he may just not be into you anymore. We all had our theories, but obviously they were just assumptions and none of it was helpful. Then, one of the mods, Dark Mouse, made a suggestion that would set off a chain of events that none of us anticipated. You know, he may be telling the truth. Maybe he's going through some stuff mentally. And maybe he's actually spending some time with his buddies. Why not just follow him and see where he goes? The reactions were mixed. Some of us mentioned that this could be dangerous depending on what he was into, but Emily liked the idea. She said that she needed to know the truth. And she signed off with, "I'll let you all know what I find. Wish me luck." And then, silence. Emily just vanished from the forum. Weeks went by and the mods kept her thread alive just in case she came back, or in case something happened and they needed it for evidence. Many of us assumed that she had just left the group. Maybe she was embarrassed or heartbroken by what she discovered. But then, one night she reappeared. And her final post? It was haunting. It started with, "I did what you said to, and I wish that I hadn't." Emily went on to describe how she had followed her husband one night, driving discreetly behind him as he went around blocks, and traveled deeper and deeper into the woods. He didn't go too far out of town, but he definitely wasn't going anywhere near the bar where he claimed he was going. After a while, he pulled off onto a side road in the woods that looked like it led to an abandoned house. The place was barely more than a ruin. It was the kind of place where you would see a ghost hunter recording their videos. But the creepiest part of it all was that he didn't go into the house. She watched as he pulled open the storm cellar that was partially concealed by overgrowth. She said that she waited in her car, parked far enough away that he wouldn't notice her with her headlights off, and her body quaked in terror. What the hell was he doing here? Why was he at this abandoned house in a damn storm cellar? She watched as he went down, and then came back up, locked the cellar up, and drove off, as if there was nothing going on. She said that she thought about confronting him, but after a few moments, it occurred to her that whatever he was hiding down there was worth lying to his new wife about, so it wasn't good. She waited for him to drive off, and when she was certain that he was gone, she made a split-second decision to break into the cellar and figure it out. She got out of the car, grabbed a large rock, smashed the padlock, and decided that she needed to go down there to figure this out. She mentioned that her gut was telling her that something was horribly wrong, that she was about to stumble upon something nightmarish. And that's a damn good way to describe what she found. She described this cellar as being this destroyed, damp and rotting room that looked like a room in a horror movie where victims would be tortured. And in the back of the room was a young woman that was chained to a large concrete pillar. She was emaciated, barely alive, and terrified. And the second that she saw Emily, she burst into tears and screamed for her to please help her. Emily immediately called the police, and she asked the woman what was going on. As it turns out, her husband had kidnapped this woman and had been keeping her captive for about a week by this point. This woman had been reported missing, and her husband was the reason for it. When the police arrived, she had to explain how she'd followed her husband, how she saw him enter and then exit the cellar, and the woman confirmed that her husband was her captor when she was shown the photograph. The reason Emily had disappeared for so long was because she didn't want to post while everything was still being investigated. But now that her husband was charged and was going to be going away for a long time, she felt comfortable enough to tell us what she'd found out. Obviously, her whole life was shattered by this horrifying secret, and the only thing that she was thankful to find out was that this was the first time he had done anything like this, as far as they know. Though, if her suspicions hadn't festered, it most likely wouldn't have been his last. Obviously, no one can know what Emily's husband's end goal was, but we can all speculate. The forum obviously plunged into chaos. Darkmouse, the admin that recommended she follow him, deactivated her account, and the police started actually investigating the group to see if any of us knew what was going on. None of us did. Emily didn't even know, but they had questions and were trying to figure out why this all happened. The group was abruptly shut down, probably as soon as the police were done investigating us. It was for the best, because the group was pretty much dead after that. No one wanted to post in the group where all this was brought to light. Now, whenever I find myself scrolling on Facebook or whatever, and I consider joining a group that looks entertaining, I remember Emily. It felt like such a harmless suggestion on Darkmouse's part. She wasn't wrong. He could have just been needing some time to himself, but that simple suggestion destroyed the lives of several people. It was for the best, ultimately, that she found out what he was doing. And she most likely saved that poor girl's life, but it's such a painful situation. Proof that even those we think we know the best, those that we love and plan to spend forever with, can be monsters that we would never expect them to be. Okay, so I have a weird experience that I don't know how to tag or what category it would fit under. I also have zero proof for any of this, but I swear to you that it happened. And it is the weirdest, creepiest thing that has ever happened to me. I don't know if this was some kind of haunted internet crap or some weird hack thing that happened or what, but I'll let you all decide what the hell it was. So, I used to be into buying random crap in online auctions, and yes, it was all crap. I needed none of it, and I ended up reselling pretty much everything I ever bought in a garage sale when I became unemployed at one point. I bought vintage toys, rare books, stuff that I didn't even know existed. I loved scrolling through the listings, and there was a certain thrill of the hunt more than actually getting the items themselves. However, there was one auction that fits what I mentioned above. Weird, terrifying, downright chilling, and I have no idea what it was. I was just sitting there, coffee in hand, lazily browsing an online auction site on a Sunday afternoon. You know the drill. Click, scroll, yawn, repeat. As I was passing by random listings, something caught my eye. It was an antique mirror, Victorian era, I believe, intricately carved, and honestly, it was mesmerizing. It was gorgeous, and to my surprise, there were 0 bids on it. That's a bit of a red flag for sure, but curiosity got the best of me. I put in a bid, a pretty low one, thinking that someone else would come along and outbid me. Interestingly enough, no one did, and I got this thing for damn near nothing, plus shipping. The mirror arrived in a large crate-like box. It was heavier than it looked, and it took me a while to get it inside and set up. Honestly, it was even more gorgeous in person. There was a small amount of damage on one side of the wood, but nothing that wasn't listed in the auction description. I mounted it in my bedroom, and I thought it was perfect. Now, this is where things got really freaking weird. I started to get random notifications, or see texts on various pages that didn't make sense. Every item I would click on would have text in the description that said, "Is this for you or that beautiful mirror?" I went to another page and got a pop-up for mirror cleaner that said it was for my beautiful mirror. At first I laughed it off, thinking it was really weird and coincidental. Surely just a bug or my brain playing tricks on me or something. And this was a time before everyone knew that websites tracked your information non-stop, so to see information about mirrors on other sites was a bit strange. But seeing it in the description of the items was downright confusing. I would click on something else that I may want to bid on, and it would say that, "Is this for you or that beautiful mirror thing?" It didn't matter if it was another antique, if it was some kind of kitchen gadget. Somewhere in the description, those words would be pasted. I went to read the news on another page, and all over the ads were the words, "Your beautiful mirror." There were news stories that were broken into multiple parts, and in between the parts were things like, "This is perfect for your beautiful mirror." You know that eerie feeling you get whenever you're alone, but you feel like you're not? Yeah, that crept over me. Every single time I got one of those notifications, I would feel it. This wasn't just over a few minutes either. This was days. Maybe a couple weeks even. And every site that I would go to would mention the freaking mirror. When I was getting ready for bed one night, I went over to my dresser and looked up in the mirror, and I swear on everything that I saw something, I don't know what, standing behind me in that mirror. That was the last straw. I grabbed the mirror off my wall, walked it down the stairs, and I put it by the dumpster in the complex's parking lot. I went back upstairs and just stared out the window at that damn mirror, waiting for it to somehow teleport back into my room or something. Of course, that didn't happen, and when I got up the next morning, it was gone, probably taken by some other poor soul that liked the looks of it. The weirdest thing, that next morning, I got an email from the seller that said, "I hope you enjoyed your beautiful mirror." Enjoyed, as in past tense. As if this person knew that I no longer had the mirror. After that, there weren't any more mirror-based notifications. They just completely stopped as if they never existed. Now, I know that this is probably the silliest story you have ever read, but I would swear on literally anything that this all actually happened. And I have never felt more terrified than while I had that stupid mirror. Like I said, a haunted mirror, a haunted internet auction, haunted internet? I have literally no damn clue, but it scared me. And it was over the minutes that I got rid of that stupid mirror. I used to be a social media addict, treating it like my digital diary. I would post all of my photos, curate my page by liking every single thing I could find that I had even the slightest interest in, add people as friends that I knew or was acquainted with even in the slightest bit. I considered myself tech savvy too, never clicking on suspicious links and always keeping my passwords secure and up to date. But, despite all my caution, it happened to me. My account was compromised. And, worse yet, I saw it happen in real time. At first, the compromise was subtle. I would log onto Facebook and see that I had left comments on articles that I have never actually read. Odd, sure, but maybe I was just being forgetful, or maybe I was sleep typing. Like I mentioned, I had an obsession, and life is hectic, so it's possible that I had commented and had just forgotten or something like that. Then, I noticed that I had a few friend requests that were accepted, but I couldn't recall sending them. Again, I brushed it off. My job requires networking, so I thought maybe I had just added these people during a particularly busy week and simply forgot. It wouldn't be the first time, really. But then it escalated in the weirdest way. While I was scrolling through my feed, I noticed a message pop up in the corner. It was from my college roommate, Nick, someone that I hadn't spoken to for several years. I grinned, thinking, I wonder what that crazy SOB is up to nowadays. But before I could even react to the message, I saw myself respond. Well, not myself, obviously, but the message came from my account. The reply said, "Hey, Nick, long time no see. How are things?" I sat there paralyzed for a moment watching this conversation unfold. A conversation that I was actively responding to, yet my hands weren't even touching the keyboard. Whoever was responding seemed to know what to say to sound like me. They knew things about me and my life, and they were using this knowledge to have a convincingly real conversation with Nick. After a few moments, the person pretending to be me mentioned something about being in a rough place financially, and said they needed a bit of money to get out of it. I knew what was coming. This guy was about to use my account to try and scam my old buddy out of cash. I knew that I needed to get this guy out of my account, and the first thing I needed to do was change my password. I went into the settings and tried to change it, but it immediately said that my current password was incorrect. How could that be? I had literally logged in less than a couple hours ago, and the password worked. I tried to do a forgot password from an incognito tab, but the email address that it claimed it had sent it to was not the correct one. I'm just sitting there thinking that my account was screwed. That this person had full control over everything, and I wasn't sure what I could do to fix it. I couldn't lose this account, but if I couldn't get this person out, they were going to scam money out of my friends and family. I was still logged in though, so I wasn't helpless here. I opened the chat with Nick, and I figured that I could try to shut it down. I typed, "Nick, this isn't me. My account has been hacked. Don't trust anything that I'm saying." Nick, now thoroughly confused, responded with, "What? Is this some kind of joke or something?" Meanwhile, the other me was also messaging him and brushing off my warning as a weird glitch, and trying to divert the attention back to reminiscing. It was then that I remembered I could go to the sessions and potentially kick this person out. I went to do so, and to my surprise, it only showed the one session. My session. After thinking about it, I said screw it and just went to deactivate my account. I went through the process of doing so, and I force-killed all sessions, logging everyone and everything out of the account. Even if it only showed my session, I figured that this was the best course of action. I had no idea if it was going to solve the problem, but it was all I could do to stop what this guy was doing. I spent way too much time logging into all my other accounts, changing passwords, logging out of all sessions and apps, just making sure that everything was logged out and secured. I also contacted Facebook support, which, at that time, was actually helpful, telling them that the account was compromised, and after proving that I was who I was, they locked it out and changed the password to a temporary one that I had to log in and change right away. I did, but I kept the account deactivated. After a while, I had cautiously decided to go ahead and reactivate my account to see if there was any way that I could recover anything on it. When I logged in, I was surprised to see that the account's information had actually been changed. Not the login information, but the name and everything like that. It was changed to Lucky Fool. The About Me was changed to You think you're safe, but I'm still around. Their profile picture had been changed to a Guy Fawkes mask. Interestingly enough, all of my posts on the account had been deleted. All my friends removed and everything else scrubbed clean. So, I guess whoever hacked it just wanted to destroy it. I was annoyed, but I had to just accept it for what it was. I made a new account, but just added a couple of close friends and family members, and I didn't like any brands or anything like that, keeping my Facebook footprint as small as possible. I don't know how or why this person decided that they needed to mess with me like this, that they had to destroy the account that I had built like this, but they did. And, because of it, I'm always looking over my digital shoulder, if you will, wondering if someone is still out there watching me and waiting to just do it all again. So that, my friends, was a collection of some terrifying internet-based stories based on the internet interactions people have. Some really weird stuff. Obviously not dark web stories, which I guess I should apologize for that, but internet stories are definitely a good second. And not even internet creeps. I know that was another one I did, like creeps on the internet, but this one is just internet stories, scary stories with internet as or being on the internet as the central focal point. Some weird ones, and some genuinely terrifying ones. And all of them, yeah, these are all stories that were terrifying. I don't know what to say here. Yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed them, and obviously thank you to everyone who submitted their stories to me, or posted their stories online for me to find them through my sleuthing. There we go, sleuthing again. Anyways, if you did enjoy them, please do hit that like button, as that does help tell YouTube, hey, this is a good video, I like this video. And if you like the video, other people may like the video, so YouTube says, oh, I'll show this video to more people. That's how channel growth happens. I don't know if you know that. You can also subscribe to the channel if you really enjoy the content and want more, like it. That helps as well. New subscribers on videos also helps push videos very hard, if you don't know. So, you can also leave me a comment, which is the other thing you can do to help the channel. Also, start a discussion with me, because I love talking to y'all, I really do. And you guys leaving comments on my videos, it starts discussions, it allows me to respond to as many as I can, and it's a fun time. Causes that, or it more so creates that atmosphere of community that I love to harness, that I love to let fester, and I love to let... Festered has negative incantations with it. Incantation, is that the right word? No, probably not. Anyway, it has negative implications. That's the word. Incantations? Really? It has negative implications. I swear, guys, I'm not stupid. It has negative implications, so let's not say fester. Foster. That beautiful community feeling that I love to foster. See, I'm getting the words really close today, but I'm like one off, if you know what I mean. I don't know what's wrong with me. A lot of things, but we won't go there. Anyways, friends, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please, I already said all that. Just let me know you enjoyed it, that's all. Oh yeah, you can also hit the join button, Patreon, get access to content like this early, so long as it goes up early and such, and all that good stuff. Of course, friends, until I see you again, I do hope that you remember you are loved, you are valid, you are important. You're the best you that you can be. Do not forget it, and do not let anyone tell you otherwise. And I'm going to end this outro, so until I see you again, much love, and of course, sleep well.